Full text free, Shuangjie Sweet Text, both male leads are the same person. The calamity of the demon world, Bai Wu, died under the sword of the demon slayer she had just prepared to collude with. After learning that she would be able to be reborn after completing her task, Bai Wu excitedly rubbed her hands and said, "I love abusing men the most." So, when the actor who ascended to the altar tenderly confessed to her, Bai Wu smiled and said, "I don't love you, you're just his substitute." When the renowned Prime Minister spared no effort to save her, Bai Wu turned around and drew her sword, saying, "Prime Minister, I don't want your love, I only want your life." When the outstanding immortal sect master exhausted all her strength just to cure her eye disease, "I'm sorry, I've been using you all along," Bai Wu said directly to the gate of Shizu's destiny. Being cruel to one's husband can be satisfying for a moment, but being cruel all the time can be satisfying. But as she abused, Bai Wu realized something was wrong. The kind and respectful actor directly tied the white moonlight, and the sharp blade pressed against the person's face. "If I destroy him, you can only love me alone, right?" The always upright Prime Minister personally crafted a pair of golden shackles for her. "Ah Wu, since I can't get your heart, the person who gets you is enough." The immortal ancestor raised his hand to turn the blade and pressed it against his chest. "Ah Wu, don't dirty your hands, I'll do it myself." "Bai Wu. What? Can you get out of the system and say what you want to earn?" "Why did I lose myself?" Keywords of the novel. Quickly breaking through misfortune water. Blackened by Scum, ill and delicate male lead no pop-ups, quickly breaking through misfortune water. Blackened by Scum, ill and delicate male lead. Download the complete text. Quickly breaking through misfortune water. Blackened by Scum, ill and delicate male lead. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. The national actor is a white moonlight double, 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The national actor is a white moonlight double, 1. It is never the murderer who kills innocent people, but rumors. Plain 1. You, don't come over here. In the darkness, a woman with tears on her face huddled helplessly in the corner of the wall, looking in terror at the few people approaching her. In the sub-zero weather, she was only wearing a black dress, covered in a white fur, shivering in the cold wind wrapped in ice and snow. Although she wore bright and heavy makeup on her face, her little dear eyes were clear, bright, and charming, with tears that added a touch of softness and delicacy to her. A few thugs saw such a delicate beauty and their blood surged, whistling. "Little beauty, why don't you go home with your brother to warm the bed on such a cold day?" "That's right, still dressed like this, who should I show it to?" one of them said and extended a salty pig's hand to Bai Wu. This is the outskirts of the imperial capital, and the public security is extremely chaotic, let alone late at night. The woman in front of me is dressed like this in the winter, and she is alone. What is the lamb that was delivered to her door? Bai Wu is indeed a lamb. But the hunters she was waiting for were not them. She pushed the person away with red eyes, and unconsciously glanced at the black Bentley parked next to the small gas station on the roadside. 10 minutes have passed, but the car still hasn't moved at all. Bai Wu bit her frozen lips and her voice increased a few decibels. "Don't touch me, get lost." But her voice was extremely sweet, with a hint of grievance emphasized, not only lacking in deterrence, but also making those little thugs even more excited. "Yo, the little beauty's cursing sounds so good. Come on, curse a few more words, let your brothers have a good ear." Upon hearing this, the other few burst into laughter, and their gaze towards Bai Wu became more aggressive, with a determined expression. A beautiful and seductive woman is certainly tempting, but the little beauty in front of them, who exudes tenderness and sadness all over her body, can even arouse their desire for conquest. "Abnormal, go away." Bai Wu picked up a handful of snow and sobbed, throwing it onto the person. But her hands were already frozen stiff, and those few pieces of snow had no deterrent power, instead causing her to stumble on her own. The yellow-haired thug grabbed onto Bai Wu's slender wrist and threw the fur off her body with the other hand, saying, "Yo. You want to have a snowball fight with your brother? Come on, let him teach you how to play." System 003 couldn't bear to watch anymore, and with a long sigh, he said, "Host, is the bitter meat trick really useful? I'm afraid if it continues like this, if the male lead doesn't come, you'll freeze to death first." Bai Wu sucked on her already frozen red nose and responded to the system with her divine sense, "Don't worry, I have a sense of propriety." Seeing the Bentley still standing still, even with a strong momentum of soaring away, Bai Wu gritted her teeth, shook off the person's hand, and ran in the snow on her 10-centimeter high heels. Those little thugs seemed unaware of her sudden action, and after a moment of confusion, they followed suit. "Little beauty, what are you running for? The guys just want to chat with you." "I poo." Bai Wu spat in her heart. They don't really want to chat with her, they clearly want to use their lower bodies to chat with her. If it weren't for her ulterior motives, she wouldn't be too lazy to talk to these greasy and ugly men. Thinking of this, Bai Wu shed a few more tears and shouted in a more mournful voice, "Help, don't come over, help. Little thugs, ... They haven't done anything yet, why did they just shout for help?" However, the Bentley remained motionless and even started the engine. Bai Wu tugged at the corner of her mouth. It seems to be forcing her to magnify. Fan Group 715422970, welcome to join the group and play together, open a new book. Baby, please don't waste your time. Free books are free of charge and all data is available for reading and tracking. They will be updated on time every day. Dear babies, remember to receive 5-star reviews and vote for more recommendations. Another wave of snow and snow concludes the old book, Quick wearing boss, she's beautiful and sexy, and the fox spirit Lin Lang is also very charming. The neighboring drama, Surprise. My eldest daughter tore apart the script of a wealthy family's cannon fodder, is currently being serialized new book introduction. Zhang, the legitimate daughter of the Marquis's mansion, crossed over and dressed up as cannon fodder that killed herself shortly after entering the arena in the Ba Zone 1. Faced with the female lead of the Most Holy Mother in the book and the male lead of the boss configuration, Zhang immediately decided to stay away from these two intellectual disabilities and focus on promoting his family. What if the biological brother who plays the role of the infatuated second son is a complete playboy? Zhang directly packed people and sent them to the Transformers variety show. The wandering young master became famous overnight and eventually became the top actor. What should I do if my illegitimate younger brother dresses up with green tea all day and tries to win favor in front of the family? Zhang took the lead in becoming the king of exams, and green tea became a good student from then on, continuously pursuing undergraduate, master's, and doctoral studies. What should my cousin with autism do if he always locks himself in a dark room and tears his face? Zhang prescribed the right medicine, transforming melancholic wenching into the king of the Temple of Heaven, singing love songs with one hand and crying for millions of young girls. Under the governance of Zhang, the once tumultuous and declining wealthy Jiang family flourished and became brothers and sisters, eventually becoming the first aristocratic family in the capital. When Zhang first met that person, they had just finished chasing the uncontrollable herd of cows, and their faces were a pair of plateau reds even more brilliant than the sun in the sky. He extended his hand to her and introduced himself with a grin, "Hello, my name is Zhao Dainiu." Zhang looked at the hand covered in mud and emitting an unknown odor and said, "Ugly refusal, thank you." Encountering each other again, the other person transformed into the terrifying legitimate son of the Gu family, with a clear and beautiful moon and unparalleled nobility. He extended his hand again and said, "Hello, my name is Gu Yu. I heard that your family is short of a male host to sit in. Do you think I can handle it?" Everyone in the Jiang family jumped out and said, "No way. We don't need it." End of this chapter. Chapter 2. The national actor is a white Moonlight double, 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 3. The national actor is a white Moonlight double. 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. The national actor is a white Moonlight double. 3. Shuangjie thought she was on guard against him, but what he didn't know was that the woman's simple panicked eyes were filled with playfulness and pride. It's like a hunter admiring their newly acquired superior prey. Undoubtedly, it is the soul fragment of that guy. It's a masterpiece. Bai Wu silently gave Shuangjie a score in her heart. The man in front of him was dressed in a well-cut suit. Perhaps he had just participated in a major event, and his hair had been well groomed. His eyes were narrow and long, but he didn't have any feminine energy. Instead, he was as deep as an abyss. The nose bridge is straight, and the thin lips are like crimson. Even if Bai Wu looked at him from a lower angle, she couldn't find any flaws on his face. A perfect face. He deserves to be elevated to the altar of the entertainment industry by everyone. Shuangjie was also looking at Bai Wu. He has seen this person before. A few days ago, at the opening ceremony of his new play, she looked proud and smiling around the investors. At that time, Shuangjie asked him to stay away from this woman to avoid being tricked by her. But why did Bai Wu look nervous and innocent tonight? That's right, at least he's a celebrity in the entertainment industry. Being bullied in the wilderness during the minus few degrees Celsius weather, he can't pick up his pride anymore. Looking at Bai Wu's still slightly trembling shoulders, Shuangjie silently adjusted the air conditioning in the car a few degrees higher. The warm wind mixed with the scattered mint fragrance made Bai Wu recover a lot. I'm freezing to death. If it weren't for fishing for men, she wouldn't have run to such a haunted place and get cold in the middle of the night. Bai Wu let out a cold breath, her eyes filled with panic and unease, and timidly answered the man's question just now. Hospitals, yes, there will be paparazzi, I'm afraid. Shuangjie in the front row tugged at the corners of his mouth when he heard this and couldn't help but say, Miss Bai is also afraid of paparazzi. Shuangjie glared at Shuangjie, who immediately lowered his head. But he was not wrong either. The woman sitting in their car should crave paparazzi more than anyone else. White charm. A notorious troublemaker in the entertainment industry. Since the day of her debut, the rumors around her have never stopped. Not only does he engage in promiscuity with various male celebrities, but he also secretly gets along with various wealthy families. A while ago, the rumor about being involved with the young master of the Hua family became a hot topic, and it has not come down yet. Just now, he advised Shen Shao of his family not to worry about the situation on the roadside, but unexpectedly, Bai Wu suddenly fainted beside their car. I don't want to take care of it now, after all, it's not good if someone dies. But who knows if this infamous woman is directing and acting in today's play. Shuangjie has already calculated that if this woman gets into the car and starts messing with his young master, he will definitely mercilessly throw her into the snow. But she didn't, instead, she kept a wary distance from Shuangjie. This really confuses Shuangjie a bit. Perhaps she really encountered danger. Upon hearing Shuangjie's words, Bai Wu's head instantly drooped, and a hint of divine injury swept through her eyes. As someone from the entertainment industry, Shuangjie easily caught the change in Bai Wu's emotions and pursed her lips, saying, Shuangjie spoke carelessly. I apologize for him. Bai Wu was shocked, as if she didn't expect Shuangjie to say such words. She quickly waved her hand and said, Mr. Shen spoke too seriously. I don't deserve your apology, I. Then she clenched her lips and stopped speaking, tears welling up in her eyes, but she tried hard not to let it fall, as if saying, you are right to criticize people like me. As soon as this series of actions was completed, a warning sound sounded in Bai Wu's divine consciousness. Ding! Green tea passive skill trigger, host charm plus 10, Bai Wu. I'm new here. I haven't prepared anything for you. Please have a cup of tea with sisters here. It's made by Tu Shan. If it's not strong, it's free. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. The national actor is a white Moonlight double, 4. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The national actor is a white Moonlight double, 4. In the shadow, a subtle light smile appeared on Bai Wu's face. It seems that this task is not that difficult either. She is Bai Wu, that's right. I'm not the white charm in the entertainment industry who has been filled with black materials for a long time. She was originally a white rabbit spirit, and after practicing for thousands of years with a fox demon that was coaxed by cows in Tushan, she finally transformed into a human form. Then she came down the mountain with the enchanting techniques she had learned from her master, ready to search for prey and show off her skills. It was not easy to find a beautiful and charming man who suited her taste. Before she could approach, the iceberg handsome man stabbed her with a sword. She didn't have time to dodge and died on the spot. Only when she died did she realize that the so-called iceberg beauty was actually a demon slayer who had been staring at her for a long time. But although she is a demon, she has never had a chance to do anything bad. Was he killed so inexplicably? She's not willing. Perhaps it was her resentment that moved the heavens, or perhaps it was the talisman that her master had given her before going down the mountain that had worked. I woke up again in a strange world, with a strange system called 003 bound to my divine sense. This system not only helps you resurrect the host, but also allows you to seek revenge. 003 proudly patted his chest and said. Bai Wu looked at the tiny little boy's system in front of her and raised her eyebrows, saying, what kind of revenge blood-hate method? She just wants to quickly resurrect and then capture that damn stinky Taoist and abuse him properly. Although she is a white rabbit spirit, her temperament is not at all silly or sweet. On the contrary, it is extremely cruel to seek revenge. In the 1,000 years of Tushan, he had long conquered monsters of all sizes on the mountain, but was ambushed by a stinky Taoist. What a shame. She must avenge this. 003 smiled and said, host, don't worry. Listen to me, the talisman your master gave you is actually a space tool. When you enter the space, the Taoist who killed you is also sucked in. The male protagonists in the planes we are going to next are the fragments of the Taoist's soul. So your task is to abuse the male protagonist and make him say, I hate you, or express this meaning, and it's considered complete after listening. Bai Wu was full of enthusiasm. Cruelty to others. This is her old profession. And the one who was abused was still that stinky Taoist, which is equivalent to helping her seek revenge. Kill two birds with one stone. But 003 quickly added, it's okay to abuse people and hearts, as long as you ensure the safety of the male lead's life, otherwise you will also be devoured by the plain space like him. Upon hearing these words, Bai Wu did not show a too disappointed expression, but her eyes became even brighter. What do you mean, as long as he doesn't die, how can you treat him? 003 instantly felt a chill in her back, and it knew that this host was far from as sweet and innocent as her appearance. Poor, about the same. The host has understood almost everything, so let's draw a card and confirm the identity of your first character. By the way, each identity card will have an accompanying passive skill. Once a passive skill is triggered, it will bring benefits to the host. Also, every ID card has the original owner's wish, and once the host is attached to them, don't forget to fulfill the original owner's wish. Bai Wu's luck was very good. With a burst of energy, she drew an identity card called, But Awaiting Release. Although she couldn't understand the meaning of those 4 words, she could clearly see the passive skill of this card. That is, as long as she utters a word of T, her charm will increase. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The national actor is a white Moonlight double, 5. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. The national actor is a white Moonlight double, 5. This has hit Bai Wu's old tricks again. She is known as the green tea spirit in the demon world, and when those monsters hear her name, they all shy away, afraid of being scalded by her tea skills. Not long after arriving at the first plane, Bai Wu triggered this passive action, which truly impressed 003. But after accepting the identity information of this card, Bai Wu felt that her luck was really weak. The character she drew is also called Bai Wu. The entertainment industry is full of water like flowers and black materials flying everywhere. What kind of budding is this? It's about as infamous as it is. Not such a host, there is also a reason why Bai Wu became like this. 003 quickly explained. The original owner, Bai Wu, was originally studying dance, and with her own efforts, she was admitted to the Imperial Academy of Drama. But because he comes from an unnamed small town and comes from a poor family, he is often ostracized by his classmates, Bai Fume. Those people even deliberately damaged her performance clothes, making her look embarrassed at the party. Finally, Shuangjie appeared and draped her coat over the original owner before helping her out. As a result, the original owner fell in love with this man uncontrollably, and even gave up dancing for him to switch to the performing arts department. But at that time, Shuangjie was already a well-known actor in the entertainment industry. The original owner's admiration for him was widely spread as a joke, and the original owner couldn't bear these public opinions and decided to drop out of school and enter the entertainment industry. Unfortunately, in the entertainment industry, the inexperienced original owner was quickly forced to fall into corruption, plagued by black material, and eventually even the confession of Shuangjie in college was exposed, leading to various online bullying by netizens. The last line of defense in his heart collapsed, and the original owner chose to commit suicide. And Shuangjie, whom she regarded as the light of her life, didn't even remember her existence. After understanding the basic information of the original owner, Bai Wu angrily scolded the original owner for being foolish and sweet. With such a promising career in dance, I went to learn performances that I am not good at. Although she was not lacking in looks, there were many suitors, but unfortunately, her love brain fell on Shuangjie and in the end, she destroyed herself. Unfortunately, the only obsession before death was still hoping that Shuangjie could confess to her once. Who is Shuangjie? It is not an exaggeration to say that he is the proud son of heaven. Born as the only son of Shuangjie, the richest man in the imperial capital, he is a respected prince of the imperial capital. But this prince did not spend his days indulging in extravagance, drinking, and entertainment like the vast majority of children from wealthy families. He started to rely on himself early on, taking on various advertisements and films with his unparalleled appearance and superb expression, and became extremely popular upon his debut. But at that time, many people were not optimistic about this young child star. After all, there were countless disabled child stars in the entertainment industry. Shuangjie broke this law. Not only did she not become disabled, but she became more and more charming as she grew older, becoming an unparalleled beauty in the entertainment industry. Her acting skills also became more and more mature, and she successfully won the Best Actor award at the age of 18, completely becoming a god. And his personal life is also extremely regular and disciplined. In the past decade or so since his debut, apart from being criticized by fans during filming, he has never been rumored to have an affair with any female star. He also treats people with extreme courtesy and respect, without any airs of an actor. Such a person, almost perfect, is an existence that the original owner can never reach. I want him to confess to the original owner. Dreaming is pretty much the same. But now the situation is different. She is not the original owner. She is the evil Belly Black, skilled in playing with people's hearts, and full of green tea attributes. She not only wants to fulfill the original owner's wish, but also wants Shuangjie to love her so much. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. The national actor is a white Moonlight double, 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. The national actor is a white Moonlight double, 6, but the first step is a difficult problem. Shuangjie not only keeps herself clean, but also shows no interest in women at all. Bai Wu also searched through his information before finding his only weakness. His mother. Shen Bing was originally a popular little flower in the entertainment industry, and she became very popular in the entertainment industry with her stunning appearance. Unfortunately, he was framed, betrayed by his best friend, and covered in a lot of black material, which made the other party cold-hearted. He withdrew from the circle and married Shenjong. But due to the fact that wealthy families have never liked people in the entertainment industry, Shen's mother also kept her name hidden and was wiped out of all traces in the entertainment industry, which was why she was reluctantly accepted by the Shen family. Perhaps it was Shen's mother's unwillingness that subtly influenced her son, leading Shuangjie to enter the entertainment industry despite her father's opposition, only to fulfill her mother's wishes. Bai Wu is gambling on whether Shuangjie, a gentleman with a gentle appearance, has a rebellious heart. She made the right bet. The Shen family doesn't like people in the entertainment industry, so Shuangjie insists on entering the entertainment industry under the guise of a prince in the imperial capital. People in the entertainment industry are not optimistic about him as a young master. He insists on achieving perfection in everything and being soft on receiving awards. Su Ci did not allow him to approach the infamous disaster water Bai Wu, but he insisted on getting off the car to save the beauty as a hero. Bai Wu still guessed. As he looked at himself, who had been bullied, would he think of his mother who had worked alone in the entertainment industry and suffered all kinds of cold looks back then? That's why I directed and acted in tonight's play. Not to mention anything else, after working in Tushan for so many years, her acting skills have long been outstanding, and there can be no flaws at all. The fact proved that she guessed correctly again. Shuangjie originally had no favorable impression of this socialite, Bai Wu. Although he recognized her as being bullied by a thug, he did not intend to be a hero to save the beauty. After all, more than once someone has directed or performed this kind of drama and approached him. But just as the girl landed, he saw a pair of eyes behind her messy hair. What kind of eyes are those? Unlike those eyes that pretend to be afraid but are actually full of calculations. Those eyes were full of fear, unease, fear, anger. He had also seen these emotions in the eyes of his mother who woke up from a midnight dream. Without hesitation, he rushed out of the car and stopped in front of Bai Wu. Then, watching her reaction in the car, Shuangjie felt a slight waver. Perhaps those rumors are false. Where is the girl in front of me who has clear eyes and would rather endure injuries than go to the hospital to be criticized by reporters than be half as arrogant and fickle as rumored? Shuangjie only pondered for a moment before saying, "Don't worry about the paparazzi in the hospital. I'll take you to my private hospital, where no one will treat you badly." Bai Wu's eyes were full of gratitude, but she still shook her head and said, "No need, it's too much trouble for Mr. Shen. I really don't need to go to the hospital." Shuangjie saw her persistence and no longer advised her, so she said to Su Ci, "Then let's take Miss Bai home." Su Ci remained silent, appearing somewhat hesitant. It's not that he speculates too much about others, it's just that this white charm has a bad review. Take her home. Who knows if she will arrange paparazzi near her home, waiting for them to take the bait. He understands the truth and believes that his young master will not be confused. Why do they still look like they are vowing to send the Buddha to the West and help others to the end? Su Ci didn't understand, but Bai Wu's heart was clear. It is clear that Shuangjie did not dispel her suspicion and deliberately probed her. I can't believe that Shuangjie is also an old fox. However, she likes it. The more difficult prey she encounters, the more she can arouse her desire to conquer. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. The national actor is a white Moonlight double, 7. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. The national actor is a white Moonlight double, 7, Bai Wu chuckled inwardly, then quickly pretended to be panicked and explained, "No need, I can just take a taxi myself. Thank you, Mr. Shen. I am much better now. After all, your identity is special, and I cannot let you be misunderstood by others." Su Ci awkwardly touched the tip of his nose when his mind was pierced. Shuangjie also glared at him as if blaming him, then looked at Bai Wu and said, "Let's not say if you can hit the car at this point. You don't have anything on you now, can you hit it?" When Shuangjie picked her up and got into the car, she checked around and didn't find her wallet or phone. Probably snatched away by those little thugs. This is also why Shuangjie relaxed her guard a bit towards her. She's not even on her phone, how do you know he'll be there tonight, and how do you arrange for people to prepare for the next steps? Bai Wu blushed with embarrassment and said, "003 couldn't help but applaud the superb acting skills of its host. The host's wallet was stolen, clearly thrown into the river before the male lead appeared. Leave no room for oneself or for the male lead. What a master." Shuangjie seemed to see her concerns and explained, "This car belongs to my mother's name, and no one will find out. You can rest assured." Bai Wu nodded and said her home address. Now it's Su Ci's turn to make things difficult. "The 6th ring road is blocked by heavy snow over there, so we can't get through it." Bai Wu sat up straight in a panic and said, "What should I do?" But Shuangjie remained extremely calm and said, "Then let's go to the Huaxing Hotel. We can't go anywhere else in this weather." "How can that be done?" Su Ci and Bai Wu spoke at the same time. Bai Wu's surprise was feigned, but Su Ci was not. "The Huaxing Hotel is where Shuangjie lives. Is Shen Shao planning to bring Bai Wu back to his hotel?" Shuangjie frowned and tapped her fingers on the leather seat cushion, saying, "Su Ci, how many times have you refuted me tonight?" "I'm sorry, young master, but you still have to go to the set tomorrow, and I'm afraid it will be delayed any longer." "It's still early, by the way, is filming important or human life important? Do you want to kill someone?" Shuangjie's tone became a bit harsh. "That." Bai Wu finally couldn't help but interject, "My injury isn't even to the point of being fatal. This guy has talked about her life several times, really afraid she'll die in his car." Shuangjie and Su Ci. Although it was not to the point of causing death, the injuries on her body were indeed quite frightening. "A big bump broke through my forehead, and my arms and legs were covered in scars." Su Ci knew that this couldn't be fake, and since Bai Wu relied on her face to make a living, she didn't dare to delay any longer. She started the car and drove towards the Huaxing Hotel. Shuangjie's proposal to go to Huaxing Hotel was not a sudden idea. His words just now were all meant to test Bai Wu. Although Bai Wu's behavior was very natural, it was not enough to let him off guard. Whether it was intentional or unintentional, further verification will reveal. It is impossible for a third person besides Su Cigan to know about his stay at the Huaxing Hotel. He wants to see what Bai Wu really wants to do. The car quickly arrived at its destination. Su Ci got off the car first and wanted to help the injured Bai Wu, but Bai Wu clearly had no intention of letting him help her and refused him directly. Su Ci looked at Shuangjie beside him and suddenly understood, his eyes gradually darkening. He knew this woman didn't have a good heart. Intentionally refusing him is to let his young master help him, right? However, the following scene surprised Su Ci greatly. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The national actor is a white Moonlight double, 8. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The national actor is a white Moonlight double, 8. Bai Wu opened the car door directly and helped the car down without any intention of being helped by anyone. She walked towards the back door of the hotel on her own. Su Ci awkwardly stopped Bai Wu's hand in mid-air. Why doesn't this Bai Wu play according to the routine? Bai Wu, who didn't follow the routine, turned around and pretended not to know, looking at them. Why haven't you left yet? I want to know my aunt's routine and practice for another 1,000 years. They thought they would stick to Shuangjie tightly, so she insisted on distancing herself from him. Shuangjie glanced at Su Ci and silently picked up the clothes from the car and draped them over Bai Wu's shoulder. Bai Wu felt a warmth for a moment, and the next second she distanced herself from Shuangjie. She politely said, "Thank you, Mr. Shen. Mr. Shen is still so considerate." For some unknown reason, Shuangjie could hear a strange smell of yin and yang in a seemingly normal sentence. Maybe it's too cold. He was about to speak when his gaze unconsciously caught a glimpse of Bai Wu's exposed calves. At this moment, there was a terrifying scar on the smooth and white skin, the wound was long and deep, and blood was bubbling out, forming a sharp contrast with the bright white snow. Shuangjie twisted her eyebrows. Did she just endure it silently all the way? No matter how much he suspected Bai Wu, he couldn't dare to think too much at this moment. With so much blood flowing in the low temperature, she really might go into shock. Shuangjie stepped forward and picked up Bai Wu horizontally, then strode into the hotel. Su Ci naturally saw the blood in that area and said, "I'll go call a doctor," before hastily leaving. Bai Wu's hand felt a bit cramped as she placed it around Shuangjie's neck and said, "Mr. Shen, why don't you put me down? I can go by myself." Upon hearing these words, 003 said with a hint of resentment, "You intentionally cut your legs like this, isn't it, just to make the male lead take the initiative to hug you? If you don't seize such a good opportunity, it won't happen again next time." Bai Wu disapproved and said, "Now Shuangjie hasn't completely changed his attitude towards me. If I eat his tofu, he won't throw me on the ground. The bitter meat plan is only halfway through, how can it easily reveal its true colors?" As expected, Shuangjie did not let go of her. Instead, she said very seriously, "You're seriously injured. It's best not to move." At this point, Shuangjie no longer believes that her previous behavior was done by Bai Wu to get closer to her. Not to mention that Bai Wu has always been very resistant to approaching him along the way. It's just that these injuries all over the body can't be fake. It's freezing outside, and she doesn't have any communication tools on her body. If she hadn't met him, she would really have died in the suburbs. No one would joke about their own lives. Upon hearing Shuangjie's words, Bai Wu finally stopped resisting and allowed him to carry her into the hotel room. At the moment the door closed, a proud smile finally appeared at the corner of Bai Wu's mouth. Unfortunately, Shuangjie did not see it. He placed Bai Wu on the sofa and went to find the medicine box. Su Ci has already gone to see a private doctor. "Let me stop the bleeding for you first," Shuangjie said, taking out gauze and alcohol. This time, Bai Wu did not perform any more scenes of wanting to refuse or welcome, but took the initiative to lift her skirt and whispered, "Then please trouble Mr. Shen." Shuangjie lowered her head and saw a pair of snow-white thin legs swaying in front of him. He cleared his throat slightly awkwardly and silently recited, "She is a patient," several times before bending down to clean the wound for Bai Wu. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. The national actor is a white Moonlight double, 9. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The national actor is a white Moonlight double, 9. Shuangjie was already prepared for Bai Wu's shouting, after all, the wound was deep and the alcohol was so strong. But after cleaning for half a day, he didn't hear any sound from the girl except for feeling a slight tremble in her body. Shuangjie looked up in confusion, only to find that Bai Wu's pale face was covered in fine sweat, and her teeth were tightly biting her already colorless lips, trying to make no sound. A hint of pity climbed up to his heart, and Shuangjie's expression was no longer as indifferent as before, with a hint of gentleness. "If you're afraid of pain, you can shout it out." Unexpectedly, Bai Wu still gritted her teeth and shook her head. Why is this woman so stubborn in her temper? Shuangjie thought to herself. But he still relaxed his hand movements and tried his best to help Bai Wu reduce her pain. However, the next second he discovered another embarrassing thing. The wound on Bai Wu's leg was too long. Even if she lifted her skirt to her thigh, only half of the wound was exposed. After hesitating for a few seconds, Shuangjie still spoke up, "Miss Bai, your wound is covered by a skirt, Bai Wu followed his gaze and saw a blush climb onto her cheeks. She said somewhat hesitantly, "But Miss Bai, don't worry, I absolutely have no ulterior motives. If your wound doesn't stop bleeding, there may be danger." Bai Wu's face turned even redder. Shuangjie also realized that what she said was not quite appropriate. No matter how she listened, it sounded like a malicious person trying to lure an ignorant girl. "Okay," Bai Wu moved her lips and reached out to lift up her skirt. But when her hand touched the hem of her skirt, she couldn't even bend. Bai Wu shook her hand in frustration and then looked at Shuangjie, saying, "Mr. Shen, my hand seems to have frozen. Can you help me?" Shuangjie couldn't bear to refuse as she looked at Bai Wu's troubled expression. "After several rounds of psychological training, I finally grasped the hem of Bai Wu's skirt. Just as he touched it, a cold wave covered his fingertips." Shuangjie clearly felt Bai Wu tremble lightly. Almost at the same time, Bai Wu's face instantly turned red like a ripe apple. "Mr. Shen, what are you doing?" Shuangjie looked up and saw Bai Wu's face with a red glow and a hint of anger. He spoke in confusion, "It wasn't you who asked me to help you. What I mean is that Mr. Shen can help me find a pair of scissors and cut open this area." "No need, no need." After Bai Wu didn't say anything, Shuangjie stood up with embarrassment on her face. He had previously suspected that Bai Wu's purpose was not pure, but now he has become a bad person who takes advantage of it. She must feel like a pervert now. Shuangjie covered up her discomfort and quickly apologized, "I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I'll go find the scissors now." He almost fled in despair, but was immediately stopped by Bai Wu. "Isn't the scissors in the medical kit next to you?" Shuangjie. He had to turn around stiffly, squat down, take out scissors, eliminate all distractions, and then cut open the skirt at Bai Wu's wound. This series of actions were fully captured by Bai Wu. Taking advantage of Shuangjie's efforts to clean her wound, she showed a towering posture, squinted her dear eyes, and her face was full of meaning, like a successful little fox. She seems to have discovered the innocent young man attribute of Shuangjie, the best actor. So the next step will be even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. The national actor is a white Moonlight double, 10. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. The national actor is a white Moonlight double, 10. After a moment, Shuangjie skillfully finished with her movements. Bai Wu pretended to be casual and asked, "Mr. Shen seems to be very skilled in bandaging. Does he often help others like this?" Shuangjie only felt that she was being weird again, but when she looked at Bai Wu, she found that her expression was as usual, with no emotional fluctuations in her eyes. As she packed up her things, she said, "I often stumble while filming, and I usually handle it myself, so I am more adept at this kind of thing." Bai Fu nodded clearly and made no secret of her praise. "It's Mr. Shen, exactly like the rumor. It seems that I still have a lot to learn from Mr. Shen." Ding. Green tea passive skill trigger, charm value +10, Miss Bai praised me falsely. Shuangjie wanted to say something more, but her gaze unconsciously stayed on Bai Wu's face. I don't know if it's because the air conditioning was turned on in the room, but finally a little blush appeared on Bai Wu's face. At this moment, she was bending her bright eyes and looking at him with a sincere smile. He had to admit that Bai Wu's face was particularly outstanding even in the entertainment industry where there were so many beautiful women. But what made Shuangjie more concerned was her smile. He was used to the hypocritical smile, and suddenly a smile without any impurities burst into his sight, making his heart beat uncontrollably and even stopping at the edge of his mouth. Bai Wu pretended not to see his loss of consciousness and pointed to his clothes with some embarrassment, saying, "Mr. Shen, it seems that your clothes have been dirted by me." Shuangjie finally came to her senses. His originally clean white shirt was stained with a lot of blood, which was extremely eye-catching. Thinking that Su Ci would bring a doctor over later, it was not good for him to go see people like this. Shuangjie turned around and poured a cup of hot tea, handing it to Bai Wu, saying, "Miss Bai, why don't you rest here for a while? I'll go organize it." Bai Wu nodded obediently. Then, as if remembering something, he tugged at the corner of Shuangjie's clothes, who had already turned around. "Mr. Shen, you are my life-saving benefactor. Don't keep calling me Miss Bai, just call me Bai Wu." Looking at the girl's face with a more intense blush, Shuangjie smiled for the first time and said, "Okay, Bai Wu. Bai Wu is a beautiful name." After reciting silently once, Shuangjie turned around and walked into the bathroom inside. As soon as he left, the little woman's posture on Bai Wu's face instantly disappeared, and then she leaned against the sofa in a queen-like manner, teasing her green fingers and smiling. "It's almost time, the other fish should also be hooked, right?" 003 confused. "When did you carry the male lead behind your back to raise other fish?" Bai Wu rolled her eyes and said, "It's not a man, it's a fish that doesn't know what's good or bad." Half of the scene she played tonight was for this fish. As soon as the words fell, the doorbell of the room rang rapidly. Bai Wu lifted her injured leg and bared her teeth as she jumped to the entrance. After confirming that Shuangjie was busy cleaning up dirt in the bathroom inside and couldn't hear the doorbell clearly, she finally turned on the surveillance at the door. In the scene, a group of journalists carrying equipment were crowded with excitement, as if they had discovered something amazing. "You came so fast," Bai Wu said with a curled lip. She had just entered the hotel with Shuangjie when the journalist from behind came. She doesn't believe it even if no one arranges it. Thinking of this, Bai Wu concealed her sarcastic expression, turned off the surveillance, and pressed the door lock. Shuangjie said, "Women, isn't it enough to provoke me? Are you going to raise other fish?" Bai Wu said, "I'm not raising fish, I just want to give men all over the world a home." Shuangjie. Requesting recommended tickets. Please leave a comment. Baby, interact more. Charge for popularity. End of this chapter.